Hello, Elizabeth here, and today I'm going to show you how to make a rhinestone pen with a heart pattern. This design is a little more advanced than some of the other bling pens I have on my channel, but it's not as hard as you might think, and I know you can do it. I'm gonna walk you through everything step by step. I started with a PaperMate InkJoy gel pen. For this project, I used silver and red rhinestones in the size SS6, because that's what I had laying around. But you can totally do a heart design with other stone sizes, and I'll walk you through how I figured out the pattern. My favorite glue for rhinestone projects is called GemTac by the brand Beacon, and I transfer it into a precision tip bottle. I like to use a wax pencil that can be sharpened to pick up and place my rhinestones, particularly when I'm using such tiny stones. You can find links to the products I'm using in the description of this video. I don't want to keep the clip on this pen, so I broke it off with my fingers and used a piece of sandpaper to file that little remaining nub until it was completely smooth with the rest of the pen. Next, I sanded the entire surface of the pen to rough it up, which will help the glue and rhinestones adhere to it better. I used a lint-free wipe and some rubbing alcohol to remove the dust and any dirt or oil that could be on the surface of the pen. I applied a thin line of GemTac around the tip of the pen just before it tapers, and used my wax pencil to place silver rhinestones all the way around. I was able to fit 17 rhinestones, but I wanted to be an even 16 for my heart pattern. So I only did 16 and adjusted my spacing to add a little more room between each rhinestone and get them as evenly spaced apart as possible. Next, I needed to figure out how I was going to make the heart design with the SS6 stones I was using. My method for this was a little janky, but basically I googled blank bling pen template and copied this image into Canva. Then I used the draw function to draw 16 dots for my silver stones, because now I know that's how many SS6 stones I can fit around in an even number. And then I played with a few different variations of heart shapes until I found one that would have perfect spacing with my SS6 stones. So heart shapes can be made a few different ways. The ones I did are 7 rows tall, and the widest part of the heart is 6 stones wide. So I knew 2 hearts would be 12 stones wide at their widest spot, and that would leave me room for 2 silver stones on each side of the hearts to space them out in between, for a total of 16 stones. Alternatively, you can also make hearts that are 4 stones wide at the widest part, but if I did that and I had 3 hearts side by side, I would only have 4 stones left over, which would not give me even spacing between the 3 hearts. So that would be a great option if I had 18 stones all the way around instead of 16, so that there could be 2 stones in between each of the 3 hearts, or even 15 stones so that there would be just 1 silver stone between each heart. Alternatively, I could do just 2 hearts that are 4 stones wide at their widest, and put 4 silver stones in between each of them for a total of 16. And that would just leave more silver space on the pen. I know this is a lot of numbers, I hope this is making sense. But basically, for a perfect pattern, you want equal-sized hearts with equal amounts of stones in the spaces in between them. It just depends what size of stone you're using. But if you're using size SS6 stones anyway, you can just do what I do. Here's a quick shot of the pattern I'll be repeating up the pen if you want to take a screenshot to refer back to. I'm using the honeycomb pattern for this pen, which means that the stones in each row are placed in the little cracks between the stones in the previous row. The bottom point of the hearts is just 1 red stone, so I did 1 red stone and 7 silver stones, and then another red stone and 7 silver stones, so that the hearts would be evenly spaced apart on opposite sides of the pen. I find it easiest to start with the red stones of the heart in each row and then just fill in the silver stones in the blank spaces. So in the next row, I added 2 red stones on either side of the single red stone in the previous row, and I filled in the remaining 12 gaps with silver stones. The next row has 3 red stones above the previous 2, and the silver stones fill the remaining 10 gaps. The next row has 4 red stones above the previous 3, and the silver stones fill the remaining 8 gaps. Then the next row has 5 red stones above the previous 4, and the silver stones fill in the remaining 6 gaps. Now we're at the widest part of the hearts, and this row has 6 red stones above the previous 5, and just 4 silver stones in the remaining gaps. The final row of the hearts has 2 red stones on each side with a silver stone in the middle, and then there are 3 silver stones on each side between the outer edges of the curves. And then the next row is completely silver to add a gap before repeating the heart patterns again. The hearts are done the same way throughout the rest of the pen, but I did each row of new hearts in between the previous row of hearts. So with that first red stone that makes the bottom point of the heart, I started halfway between the original 2 hearts. So that single red stone lines up with the middle of the 3 silver stones that are in between the curves of the previous hearts. Then you can follow the same pattern with a row of 2 red stones, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, and finally 2 on each side with a silver in the middle. And then for the third pair of hearts, that first red stone will go in between the second pair of hearts, and it will line up with the bottom stone of the original 2 hearts. So this creates a back and forth pattern that covers the pen in hearts on all sides, and I think the spacing looks best that way. You could just do them all on the same side if you wanted to, but I think with only 1 row of silver spacing them out before starting the next set of hearts, they would be very close together and look a bit more cluttered. Which is fine if that's the look you want. It's your pen and you can do whatever you want with it. If you want to do it that way, but you would prefer a little more space between them, you could also do 2 or 3 rows of just silver stones in between each new set of hearts. You would just end up with fewer hearts total. So it's very customizable, and of course you can also use any color combo of stones as well. When I got to the top of the pen, I still had some space left to cover, but I knew I couldn't fit another full heart shape in there. So I did a few rows of solid silver stones. And then finally, I did 2 rows of red stones right at the top of the pen, and I think that was the perfect final touch to tie the whole pattern together. I'm personally not bothered by the section of silver being a bit larger at the top, but if this bothers you, you could absolutely do 3 rows of silver at the tip of the pen where you started instead of just 1, and then another 3 rows of silver up here at the end of the pen, and then do your red rows, and that would even out the spacing a bit more. Totally up to you. And here is the final result. This was definitely one of the more challenging pen patterns I've done so far, but I think it turned out great. The shape of the hearts is definitely a clear and recognizable heart, and I think the pattern looks really crisp and clean, especially with that bold red color next to the silver. I got a whole box of these pens, so let me know what rhinestone patterns you want to see next. I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and if you enjoyed this video, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel and leave a comment letting me know what sort of projects you'd like to see in the future. See you later!